We continue our journey this week to salute the amazing Indians who are selflessly striving to bring about a positive change. Meet our educator Aditya Natraj, who is busy training principals to become better teachers in a bid to improve a deficient education system. Be inspired by the computer whiz from Kerala, Sri Lakshmi Suresh, who is not only the youngest girl web designer in the world, but also the CEO of her own web designing company. And catch the story of Indian at heart, Will Moyer, who is trying to change the way young boys and men perceive women in Pune.
Well, it is a horrific case of corporal punishment from Karnataka.
A case of tragic death in Bhopal.
Shocking cases of corporal punishment in schools have made the headlines in recent times.
Shocking case of corporal punishment.
Even though right to education outlaws corporal punishment, it can never be fully implemented till the teachers are sensitized. Aiming to change the mindsets of teachers is the Principal Leadership Development Program, where principals of rural schools become students and are taught to train their teachers. A brainchild of Aditya Natraj, Kaivalya Education Foundation aims at developing the country's primary education system by turning around the state of schools with its 3-year part-time program for rural principals.
One of the things that I noticed was the schools that were working always had a very strong headmaster or principal. If that person was strong, if he was positive, if he was encouraging, if he was constructive, if he was gentle, if he was empathetic, then the vibration would go all to the teachers and even they would have a similar predisposition towards their children. The question became, can we actually develop more people to have such a positive mindset? And that's what leadership is about, to have a positive mindset and therefore encourage a lot more people that positive things can happen. Kaivalya is the ultimate state of the humankind, where you're free from conditioning, you're free from any sort of patterns of thinking. And rather than training people to think in patterns and think in a very standard way, the point is to free your mind. And that's the ultimate purpose of education.
This government school in the Navalgarh Tehsil of Rajasthan's Jhunjhunu district resounds with prayers of its students. With happy faces and curious minds, they attend their classes in full strength.
हमें कोई मारता नहीं है, दीदी मारती नहीं है, डांटती नहीं है, सर हमें कोई भी नहीं मारते, हम हमारे साथ खेलते हैं, हमें डांस करवाया जाता है, हमें वो कहानियाँ बुलवाई जाती है, हमें वो चित्र बनवाया जाता है, हमसे हमें खिलाया जाता है, हमारे साथ दीदी सर खेलते हैं.
The credit of creating a healthy school environment goes to the headmaster, Ram Avtar, who is one of the many principals to undertake Kaivalya's leadership program.
मैं पीटता था और गुस्सा भी करता था, डांटता था, यहाँ तक कि बच्चे पास नहीं आते थे, डर के भाग जाते थे. आज छोटे-छोटे बच्चे मुझसे आके ताली मिलाते हैं, नमस्ते करते हैं, हेलो करते हैं. वो भयमुक्त वातावरण मैंने किया, तो ये बच्चों के बीच में और हमारे बीच में जो संपर्क है, एक भावना जुड़ी है, वो इस पीएलडीपी कार्यक्रम से जुड़ी है. इसके साथ स्टाफ के साथ में भी कोई मीटिंग का कोई काम ही नहीं चलता था. अब मीटिंग का काम भी चलता है, हम कोऑपरेट भी करते हैं एक दूसरे को. अपनी जो बातें हैं, समस्याएं हैं, वो बैठ के सुलझा लेते हैं.
Remember this beautiful example of Ram Avtar ji, who came to one of our training workshops and told me with regard to this, that पहले मैं तो चेयर पे बैठ के बच्चों से बात करता था. फिर मुझे समझ में आया कि बच्चों को आंखों से आंख मिला के तभी बात करूंगा, तभी बच्चे मुझे रिस्पॉन्स देंगे. And so now he never sits on the chair, but he sits on the floor and talks to the child. And that itself is an authoritarian thing just slowly crumbling away.
An MBA from INSEAD, Aditya extensively studied the educational systems in many countries before he set up Kaivalya in 2008.
मेरे पास एक अपॉर्चुनिटी थी कि मैं अपने कंफर्ट से बाहर आके कुछ सोशल इम्पैक्ट करूं।
Everyone wanted to know why my hair was short, why was I not married yet, or why do I speak in English and why don't I know Hindi?
I want to set up an organization which will be working with the rural women, giving them opportunity to earn their living.
Aditya realized that workshops and training sessions weren't enough to build leaders at the grassroots level, and so started a 2-year fellowship program called Gandhi Fellowship, open to all graduates.
Social problems can only be solved if we think of new ways and take big risks. But that's not what we're trained again in college to do. So the trust fall is a very great activity to actually train you to trust your team members that they will be there. So you close your eyes and you just drop and you hope that your team member is there to save you. And that's the reason we do an activity like that. The other activity was with regard to communication. How do you communicate with each other? Because we're all coming from different vocabularies, we're coming from different states, we're coming from different languages, and it is so difficult to communicate from one person. A person is drawing something on one side, and all we have to do is communicate to the other person to draw exactly the same thing.
With a master's degree in philosophy from Kolkata's Presidency College, Anandita could have easily followed the fixed pattern of a corporate job. But she became a Gandhi Fellow instead and chose to live with the villagers in the Jhunjhunu district and work with the principals of the region.
थोड़ी थोड़ी आस बड़ी, थोड़ी थोड़ी आस बड़ी, कहाँ उठाए से मैं ले जाऊं,
It's very challenging because you have to convince a 55-year-old man who is in a very orthodox state, and you have to make that person believe that he can change. It was mesmerizingly beautiful.
Fellow gets a 4-month induction, which is extremely intense, and after which they work for the next 1.5 years with 5 headmasters each of schools. During the 4-month induction, they go through a really intense process of deconditioning. You essentially have to stay, for example, for a month in a village or in a slum with no money, which means you have to actually demonstrate skills to the children and you have to earn some money. So if you're living with a house which is selling pani puri, then you also start selling the pani puri. If you're living with an auto wala, you also drive the auto every day. And if you're living with a maid, you also go and do jhadu katka every day. This really helps you understand things from a completely different perspective, because it helps you understand poverty from the side of the other person rather than looking at it from the outside. And it changes your complete view of the world.
Transforming more than 800 government school principals across Maharashtra, Gujarat and Rajasthan, and building a young squad of leaders for a positive and bright India, Aditya Natraj is a true educator in every sense. She's a school-going 14-year-old, but don't mistake her for an ordinary child. Sri Lakshmi Suresh is made of much more than meets the eye. A class 10 student, Sri Lakshmi has already made a name for herself in the field of computer technology. She is the youngest girl web designer in the world.
When I was young itself, my dad used to train me in MS Paint, and I studied English alphabets by typing it in Notepad. So from the beginning itself, as I got such a startup, it was easy for me to...
The journey began when Sri Lakshmi was only 7 years old. And this high school student from Kozhikode in Kerala has already designed close to 80 websites by now.
The first website I designed was of my school, that is presentationhss.com, and it was designed when I was studying in 3rd standard, and it is purely using HTML. And while designing our web page, the first thing we have to do is we need to make a layout about how the site should look like based on the topic and interest of the customers, and then make a CSS according to the layout prepared. Then we need to make the graphics using any graphic softwares like Adobe Photoshop or some softwares of that sort. And then the development can be done using softwares like Dreamweaver, etc.
Apart from being a champion at website designing, Sri Lakshmi is also one of the youngest CEOs in the world. Her startup company eDesign was launched in 2009.
My company is eDesign Technologies. It's a one-man army. Within the last few years, I have designed almost 80 websites. I started this company when I was 10 years old. Some of my major sites are stateofkerala.in. I'm trying to make it a complete encyclopedia about Kerala.
Sri Lakshmi's teachers at the Presentation Higher Secondary School have nothing but praise for this brilliant girl.
Sri Lakshmi was, when she was studying in 3rd standard, I still very clearly remember that cute angelic figure coming to the door of my lab, and she came holding she was holding a CD in her hand, and she very confidently told me, I wanted to design the school website here.
Sri Lakshmi's parents recognized her keen interest in computers when she was only a toddler. Their encouragement, combined with Sri Lakshmi's talent, has made her stand out in the field of computer technology.
She started using MS Word, and in MS Word itself there is an option to save the page as web page. So that is the first stage she started. Then she verified so many sites and made similar sites, and when she was competent to create a website, she approached her school, and school website was created.
This whiz kid has received mass appreciation for her work. Sri Lakshmi is the only member of the Association of American Webmasters under the age of 18. She also received the National Child Award for Exceptional Achievement in 2008.
I got my first recognition when I was studying in 3rd standard, and it was given by the Association of American Webmasters. I was recognized as the youngest girl web designer and also the youngest CU, and I'm very proud to say I'm the youngest girl web designer. The most important one is the National Child Award from the Government of India. Then American Association of Webmasters, they gave me their merit award for presentationhss.com, and later for some other sites they gave me a gold award, and also they gave them membership. Then the Kerala state also honored me with their award, and I'm so happy in that.
With Bill Gates as her role model, Sri Lakshmi is determined to reach ever greater heights.
I consider Bill Gates as my role model. Now people are mostly using computers just because of the operating system Windows, and he's the one who created it. And Bill Gates is a person who made the computers so user friendly for people.
A child prodigy and an inspiration for many, Sri Lakshmi holds her head high for being the youngest girl web designer in the entire world. He may be a British citizen, but he is working zealously to mend gender discrimination in the slums of Pune. After the break, meet our Indian at heart, Will Moyer.
आपण नाही का गर्भपात करतात काही काही जण तर ते का करतात त्याचं नेमकं कारण काय
When these young men step out in the slums of Pune, they attract a lot of attention.
हे लग्नाचा असा बाजार मांडलाय की तिथं आपण मुलीला पण देतो
Their messages create a buzz among others as they talk about respecting and understanding women. They hail from the same communities in which they preach. They don't claim that they have never beaten their sisters or teased women, but not anymore.
पहले हम मतलब क्या घर में कुछ काम नहीं वगैरह जाके आराम से बैठने का बाहर वगैरह इसकी छेड़ निकालो इसकी खिंचाई करो ऐसा तो उसे सर ने हमको इतने अच्छी तरह से सिखाया कि ये गलत है और ये अच्छा है.
Bringing about a change in the attitudes of young men like these is UK-born Will Moyer. Will first came to India in 2009 and was struck by the glaring problem of gender discrimination.
So I noticed that men enjoyed a lot more freedoms than women did. And it was during my investigation and understanding of that that I learned that men are not part of the solution to this issue. We actually conducted a piece of research. We rang up over 100 organisations who sought to empower women and seek gender equality. And fewer than 5% of those organisations actually engaged men. And I said to myself, this is crazy, right? If men are part of the problem and can be a really positive part of the solution, why aren't people working with them?
With the aim to make men part of the solution, Will set up Equal Community Foundation or ECF in 2010 in Pune. Identifying young men who could herald change.
Within any given community, there is a proportion of young men who are really primed to understand the issues that we're talking about, sexuality, masculinity, discrimination against women. And these are the young men who we're targeting, because when we come in with our program Action for Equality and the mentors who deliver the program, they just act as a catalyst to these young men who are already ready to act. On the left, we've got young men who are entering into the program.
ECF recruits and trains mentors who then encourage men from the city's lower economic strata to join their graduate program.
The graduate program is for about 15 weeks, in which we expose the boys to different sorts of information about patriarchy, about gender, discrimination, but never scare them with these words. We start off with something like, what are your dreams? What role women play in those dreams? And that's when that personal connection helps them to kind of build that rapport with our mentors. And throughout, when they're on the program, the boys struggle a lot. They struggle a lot when they're trying to change their attitude towards women.
After men have had this opportunity to really study this and uncover the issues debated amongst themselves, the graduates are ready to take action in the community and walk out, take a stand next to other men with the same, with the same ideals, and tell women in the community that they're ready to support them, and to tell other men in the community that they too should be considering how they can, how their behaviour affects women and what they can do to start to empower women in their community.
The training acts as a catalyst not just for the recruits, but also their peers within the community who get influenced by their much improved behaviour.
Graduates of our program, they become the role models in the community. Often, one is the women and the other girls in the community start looking up to this man who is all of a sudden behaving himself, not troubling them, not creating any chaos. So for them it's like a prestige thing. I'm sort of the cool dude in this community, and they get respect for that.
Young men aged 14 to 17 are in a fairly unique position. They're not yet providers, which means that they haven't yet got the full responsibility of being a man, such as that requires. They have some freedom to consider new ideas. They've had exposure to media which suggests that there are other ways of behaving. They're also the future fathers and husbands of that community.
Empowering men to empower women. ECF's motto has not only helped in tweaking the social conditioning, but also brought a smile to the faces of women who live in such communities.
ही मुलं काय करायची मुली अशा दिसल्या की मुलींना शिट्टी वगैरे मारायच्या छेडछाड करायच्या पण आता त्यातून असं काहीच दिसत नाहीये आता कमी प्रमाण दिसते नाहीच म्हटलं तरी चालत.
There's been one instance that's really fantastic, and I can still picture it actually. We had 4 women from the community. They were young, they were between 17 and 20, and they came up to us when we were in the community one day and they said, actually, thank you so much. You know what? It's so nice that people who are trying to work in communities are not coming up to women now and asking women to change, that they're asking men to change and give women the space and the freedom to live their lives.
Making Indian men more conscious of the roles their wives, sisters, mothers and daughters play is this Indian at heart. We continue our journey next week as we bring you the incredibly inspiring story of a paraplegic sportswoman, Deepa Malik, who conquered all odds on 2 wheels. Get motivated by this group of noble doctors from reputed medical institutes who left their jobs to serve the poorest of the poor in Chhattisgarh. And meet Jasmine Pateja, whose online campaign Blank Noise is motivating women to speak out against street harassment.